Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Bryce
This
Vine.
is Dexter from The
This
Offspring.
is Nathan
This is
East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick
This
Marotta.
is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
This is Dr. Bob Greenberg.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero, and joining me today for this album fight are frequent contributor, music enthusiast, and my around-the-way neighbor to my left, Brian Theis, to whom I say go Giants. Any opening remarks, Brian?
No, man, I'm just anxious to get this started.
Okay, and joining us over the interwebs from the Empire State of the South, America's Peachtree, he's the author of Rewriting Financial Rules, our guest in episode 267 of the Break It Down Show, and our guru of financial health. It's probably a little early to call him a real estate and media magnate, but he's headed in that direction. To my virtual right, Darius Norman. Comments before we get started, Darius?
I appreciate you guys for having me on.
Okay, well, we're going to appreciate you enduring this scratch out of a fight with us because we have a doozy.
Today's album fight is a 13-round clash between two critically acclaimed albums, with the winner moving on to face Abbey Road. In the red corner, we have the idiosyncratic creativity of Beck, with his Album of the Year winning ninth studio album from 2014, Morning Phase. And his opponent in the blue corner, we have 12-time Grammy and Pulitzer Prize winning rapper Kendrick Lamar and his fourth studio album from 2017, Damn. Let's get ready to ramble. Take it away, judges.
For our pre-fight analysis, a man who knows the two ingredients that will always get you laid, data analytics and pork ribs. Richard Lackie, put it on us, Richard.
Beck's Odelay came at a very important time in my life and meant a whole lot to me. I remember buying the CD and listening to it over and over. I remember a drunken night jamming out and singing every word to every song with a girl I was seeing at the time. I even remixed a song from Midnight Vultures for an online contest. I remember each of the albums after that, and still to this day, Beck's Mutations is on my short list for a Desert Island record. He's coming to a festival in October, and I'll be there, and I'm sure more memories will be made. I don't know shit about Kendrick Lamar. We've covered this before, and I even did create an educational playlist to learn more, but I don't know dick about modern hip-hop. I mean, I'm not totally ignorant about Mr. Lamar. I'm aware of the name, but truth be told, I'm not sure I've ever heard one of his songs knowing it was one of his songs. Completely, totally oblivious. Good thing we have the patent pending numbers process to help us out. I leaned heavy on the numbers and used 13 parameters for this contest, and boy, do they favor Kendrick Lamar here. In popularity, Lamar wins 2 of the 3 categories. In the critical category, it's a little bit closer, but still Lamar walks away with 4 of the 6 categories. Rankings, Lamar took 1 of the 3, and the other 2 being ties, as either album is not considered to be in the top 500 list yet, as they are newer albums, so they're not going to be on there for a while, I would think. So that gives us an 8-3-2 fight in favor of Kendrick Lamar's Damn. But I will slow the steamroller down just a bit because 2 of the categories Beck took were Grammys. It won 3, including Album of the Year, something you cannot overlook in these kind of fights. Damn did win 1 and was nominated for Album of the Year but lost. So this prestige may give Beck a few close rounds. Expected rounds for Beck are 3, 5, and 13, and for Kendrick Lamar, look for rounds 2, 8, and 10 to be his strongest. This looks to be an 8-round-to-5 win for Lamar. I'm going to add in a little human element here and call it a 7-rounds-to-6 win with a possible split vote, but all signs point to Lamar getting a win here. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Richard. Well, like the man said, this week's fight is a 13-round battle across genres featuring, in the blue corner, veteran producer and amazingly gifted multi-instrumentalist Beck, with his 2014 Grammy-winning Album of the Year, Morning Phase, facing off against the fourth studio album by Kendrick Lamar, Damn, which was nominated for Album of the Year. It was the winner of the Grammy for Best Rap Album. It also won the 2018 Pulitzer Prize for Music, making it the first non-jazz or classical work to ever earn that prize. This is going to be an earth-shattering, mind-blowing rump shaker of a match. Now, before we get started, I want to acknowledge Mike Lipari for building our scorecards every week, Phil Green, who does our ring announcement, and Wes Maybe, the Wesinator, just because I just listened to the opening phrase on Steely Dan's Reelin' in the Years this afternoon, which was played on a Les Paul through a SVT bass head, of all things, and I never would have known it if it weren't for Wes. So he's a sometimes official and always unofficial judge on the album fights, and I love what we get to learn from him about engineering, so thanks, Wes. Anyway, as always, these albums are in the ring today because we love and respect them and the place they occupy in our memories and our emotions. Yes, we're going to pick winners and losers in these rounds, but please know that we have all the love and respect in the world for the artists and the works that we feature. And if we piss you off because we've chosen something you love as the loser of a round or an album fight, well, then come do one with us, just like Darius had the balls to do. And see how much you end up loving the artists who have graced us with these records when you're done. So here we go with round one. Darius, as the guest judge, you get the mic first. How'd you score it?
Well, round one, I scored Beck at I rated it as the number one song, Cycle. But I have a confession. I wish I would have scored it as a 10 as I re-listened to Cycle. I thought it was very melodic, smooth, and it just resonated with me. Kendrick Lamar, Blood, I like that. I love the song. It's energetic, high energy, lyrical. So those, I rated Kendrick Lamar, Blood at 10.
Okay. Brian, how'd you score it?
I thought this was unfortunate the way this fight began with these two. Cycle, it's an instrumental, and listening to it with closed eyes, the strings bring a sense of sunrise and daybreak, but it's only 39 seconds long. Blood, it's a spoken word narrative. It's got a real crunchy feel. It's poetically and visually stunning. But musically, I think it lacks substance. The symbolism of the blind woman is justice, and the introduction of the Fox News bit we're going to get throughout the piece is important, though. And I wound up scoring this one 10-9 for Kendrick.
Okay. The opening of both of these albums draws you in. The thing is, I found Blood more captivating with a setup that clearly displays Kendrick Lamar and the life and death consequences that he not only has endured all his life, but at this point in his life and career as an artist, he embraces it. He takes us by surprise. And that was the biggest thing for me that was the differentiator, because I liked Cycle too, but Blood is just a lot more at stake, and he grabs us by the, and he shakes us. So it's on, and I scored it 10-9 Blood. Round two was Morning versus, and we coupled DNA and Ya. Brian, what'd you do in round two?
For this round, Morning, the strumming guitar with the sound of waves or a breeze washing over you, continues the theme from the opener. It's a soft, gentle song about starting your day fresh and leaving all the conflicts from yesterday behind, lifting you up to face the day fresh and bright. Even the drums are soft. John will tell us if they play with brushes or not, but it's definitely soft and muted, and the occasional ringing bell adds to the bright and a morning effect. For DNA, oh gosh, when this song, when I first started listening to this album, this was the song that stood out to me, and it still continues to be my favorite on the album. First and foremost, it's just a banger. It's a bouncer. It's got that beat and the staccato rhythm that it just brings out the swag in me. I love listening to this song when I'm playing basketball, and even in my weak-ass game, I feel like I got a good flow going when I'm listening to this song. And, it's Kendrick. He's continuing to tell the story, to punch back at Fox News. Ya, he takes a step back and he slows it down with this song. He gets introspective. He's not K-Dot anymore. He's, Kendrick Duckworth, and he's just talking about the real life of what he's facing in his family and how the news cycle is affecting his family. He calls out his niece, and the radar's constantly buzzing. Things are always happening around him. I feel like the beat on this track is kind of uneven. It just sounds like not really moving forward. You're just kind of being stuck at a stoplight. This was a tough round for me to score because we had to combine the two songs. In the end, I wound up thinking that Morning was more better than Ya than DNA was of Morning, so I wound up scoring it 10-9 for Beck.
All right. Well, this is a true veteran move on Beck's part to me to really kick off the album with a ballad. His previous work was often paced like a live concert, so he'd open with a barnstormer and then pull back once he had your attention. But now he's at the height of his powers. It was like when Prince did Beautiful Ones in Purple Rain. It was a one-song set. Remember, he came off the stage and the stage manager was like, "What's this one-song shit?" But he did a one-song set and he killed. This isn't quite a one-song set, but he delivers it with the same level of confidence. And I like the power message of DNA, but its delivery and its construction was the same all the way through. And for that, it didn't win me over. I love Kendrick's clever rhyme scheme, but y'all was too loose for my liking, so I scored it 10-9 Morning. What'd you do, Darius?
Well, Morning, I scored it as a 10. The production-wise, it was pretty draggy, but real melodic, smooth. I like the lyrical content of Morning. Kendrick Lamar DNA, I scored it as a 10. I thought it was very aggressive. I can concur with Brian. I like the production scheme in regards to DNA. And that's my workout song. So.
Okay.
I may be biased, but I love that. DNA is my favorite song on the album.
Wow. It's hard to compete with something that becomes your workout song because you have a different level of attachment to it at that point. It's taken hold of you and it's a regular part of your life and it does something to you emotionally that way. So, hey, that is what it is. Round 3 is Hard as a Drum versus Element. I'll go first on round 3. I like the harmonious vocal line. It's a beautiful throwback. I almost gave Element the win just for the line about Kendrick's dad's commissary making a comma. I'm not sure, if everybody caught that, but that's a big deal. That means something to somebody whose pops is doing some time, and that's a strong statement, and it's something that I think is going to grab people who have that experience and speak to people. And for people who don't have that experience, it gives a glimpse into a world where my dad never got a speeding ticket. I think, you take certain things for granted. And when you hear somebody being joyful because their dad's commissary got a comma, it's like, man, this is a different level. That's really a deep line. But Beck did a Letterman-style pop tune and got Stanley Clarke to play on it. That's true pimp shit to me. So Hard as a Drum, 10-9. What did you do with it, Darius?
Well, Beck, Hard as a Drum, I rated it as a 9. Again, I thought it pretty smooth, laid back. Some things resonated with me lyrically. Element, I rated it as a 9 also. I like the point that I like to concur with you.
Well, that was your original score, but we had to bump it up to a 10 because this is a 10-point must. So I asked you, when I asked you, Darius, who won the round? You said Kendrick won the round. So Kendrick gets a 10 on that one.
He'll get a 10. And I like the fact that he said that introspectively, he painted a picture for everybody to see how he was raised in his environment from a third-person standpoint. So, definitely.
Okay. Brian?
All right, now on Element, Kendrick, he's in his element. He's the greatest rapper alive, and he's willing to do anything to stay there. The beats and the production are there to complement the vocals. Unlike Ya, the beat, I feel, is moving forward, despite statements that are in conflict with religion, like what happens on earth stays on earth, and ain't nobody praying for me, repeated over a few times.
Yeah.
It's almost as if Kendrick is walking down the middle of the street preach rapping, and his congregation is folding in behind him and following him. This picture I got.
That's quite a visual, and I got that too. I mean, there's some things that the composition does that paint a picture for you like that. That's pretty cool.
And Hard as a Drum, it's just another beautiful song with a guitar and some piano, sweeping sounds. I'm not a drummer, I'm barely a musician, so doing this justice will be difficult, but Beck is linking life with music. These lines end the first and second verse, you follow the drum, keep in time with everyone, and your heart is a drum, keep in time with everyone. Good or bad, and this song focuses on the bad, your heart is the drum beat that moves you forward. This was a real tough round to judge, but I listened to this a lot. I wound up giving it to Kendrick 10-9 just for laying it down and making people listen.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that was a tough round. Round 4 is Say Goodbye versus Feel. Start us off, Darius.
Say Goodbye was great. I really resonated with me in regard. It just the title alone was incredible, right? It resonated with me, but I did rate it at a 9. And like I said, I can confess, I wish I could have rescored that to a 10.
Oh, boy.
But it resonated with me because, clearly Say Goodbye is, it's a great song. I like the arrangement. Feel, I love Feel. I rated that as a 10.
Yeah. It's an easy song to love. It was a really hard round. So on the one hand, Kendrick Lamar is not just talking about how he feels, but he's even identifying it. He's telling us, this isn't just me spouting out. I'm going to share with you how I feel, which is a vulnerability that is not common on albums from Compton. So it's a strong statement for Brian to make that Kendrick Lamar is the greatest rapper walking the face of the earth now. But man, he's definitely in contention, and somebody may have another preference, but he's got to be a part of the conversation. So what does that is his ability to put that vulnerability out there. And he's done that from the beginning. So it's really special. Granted, there's still a lot of range. He's acknowledging that it's his feelings, the kind of thing that wins an album really strong critical praise, just like it did for him here. But Beck has a ballad featuring Fats Kaplan on banjo, a ballad with a banjo in it. That's pretty bold. Also, the great James Gadson on drums. Man, I'm a drummer. I got to vote for James Gadson. I hate to say it, but in a narrow round, James Gadson pulled it through for me. Say Goodbye 10-9 was how I scored it. Brian, what'd you do?
For me, Say Goodbye, the opening lyrics, bones cracks, curtains drawn, on my back and she is gone. He's waking up alone. Whoever's supposed to be there with him isn't. But it doesn't sound like he sounds surprised. It's almost like this was the unspoken expectation. I love the banjo coupling with the guitar and the soft heartbeat drums and the vocals. It really sets the scene perfectly. And Feel, it's Kendrick again saying ain't nobody praying for me. And at the conclusion of Dissect Season 1, Cole Kushner spoke briefly about Damn, and which had just come out, and specifically he said that we need to pray for Kendrick Lamar because this is a much darker album than To Pimp a Butterfly was. This is one of those songs that Kendrick's feeling isolated. He's on top of the rap world, and everyone is trying to take. As for the sounds, it's Kendrick's frenetic flow over Thundercat's bass line. It's genius.
Yeah.
10-9 for Kendrick.
Okay. Sometimes when we do these rounds, man, I get this feeling that you have, Darius, where you go, man, I wish I could have gone. Sometimes I score it, and I'm happy with how I score it. And then I hear the comments, and I go, wow, I really didn't think about that. I should have thought about that.
Same thing here. I hear the way you describe it. I'm like, I don't know if I'm able to justify my score.
Yeah. So, we're pitching cases here, but every time I do, I go, wonder if I got that one right. Okay. Yeah. Well, round 5 is Blue Moon versus Loyalty. Brian, keep it going. We're going to go back to your card. How'd you do?
All right. Kendrick, he was joined by Rihanna on this song, and it's got a real get-down flow. It's got that funky groove, like making out and grinding. They're singing to each other. It's a secret society. All we ask is trust. All we got is us. Loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. So after Kendrick and Riri, they trade some verses. Kendrick comes back around, and then the beat drops out. After he says, you acting shifty with me, no, you don't ride with me no more. I need loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. And then it's just him. He's questioning the level of loyalty he gets. But when Rihanna responds, that beat's back and that get down's back, and they just feel comfortable with each other again.
I liked that statement. I really liked that the beat came back with her.
Yeah.
Because it was like, no, it's okay. And she returned it to normalcy.
Yeah. It's like she built that level of trust back in him, and he was like, okay, we're back to where we were. Blue Moon, and it's just a pretty song and so lush. The combination of strings with Beck vocals just drift you away. Songbird calling across the water inside my silent asylum. Cut me down to size so I can fit inside lies that will divide us both in time. He's longing for companionship, but he knows himself well enough to know that it's sure to end poorly. The pairing of these two songs in this round is so fortunate. They're about relationships, but in different perspectives. Kendrick and Rihanna are demanding loyalty and trust from one another, and Beck is being loyal to his true self, knowing that his heart, how it's going to go. I'm going to wind up giving this one a really close round to Kendrick, 10-9.
Oh, man. Okay. Beck plays the guitar, the ukulele, and the charango on this song. if it has strings, Beck will fuck with it. And he does it all very well. But Loyalty is such a powerhouse, such a deep exploration. Rihanna, I think, does a perfect feature on it. She's definitely there. She is emotionally in tune with the co-starring role in this song. It's pure leading lady to Kendrick's strong, self-questioning leading man. The whole thing is like a movie packed into a song. And it's destructive, but it's strong. And the interplay is fantastic. I scored it 10-9 Loyalty. What did you do, Darius?
So I scored Loyalty at 10 and Blue Moon is 9. Loyalty, I felt like it's an international song, sonically. Also, Loyalty, I think all of us as humans, I think what Kendrick was trying to relate, all of us seek for loyalty. Loyalty is an important characteristic. And I think it was just great melodically how they were able to mash that world together to talk about, how we crave for loyalty and look for affirmation from one another. The Blue Moon song, I didn't see that perspective in regards to Blue Moon with Beck, in regards to him looking within himself to be valuable. Like Brian pointed out, I thought that was interesting. I more so listened to the instrumentals and how it was put together, and I thought that was great. So I rated that as a 9.
That's the thing, is the music is so well constructed that you get lost in it. Unless you make a concerted effort to really go find that message, it's easy to miss because the song is very strong on its own. And it's weird that a strength of a song can be almost a distraction. But in this case, the point that you bring up about him being introspective because he knows his heart's about to get broken is, it's really deep.
Yeah.
Okay, round 6 was Unforgiven versus Pride. Before I get to round 6, though, were you guys at all influenced by the video for Loyalty? Did you watch the video for Loyalty?
Excerpts of it.
Yeah, because it is a little movie, and it's heavy. And his questioning of her loyalty that you pointed out at that point in the video. Did you see the video?
I have not seen the video.
Okay. Well, shit. You're going to have to watch the
I'm
video.
YouTube it tonight.
Because at that point where he's like questioning her loyalty, they're standing like at the top of a skyscraper. And he says, and the music stops in the video. And he says, "Do you trust me?" And he takes her by her arm and hangs her off of the building. And so that return to normalcy is when you see her hang off the building and surrender herself to the fact that he's in control of her destiny. And it is so heavy the way that they do that. And the interplay throughout the video. It's a really well done video. Whoever directed that video was practically as dope as Kendrick Lamar. So yeah, all our listeners, go watch that video because that video is really something special. I haven't seen a video that's affected me like that in a long time. So they spent some money on that video too.
Yeah, not bad.
Okay, round 6 is Unforgiven versus Pride. My listen of Unforgiven happened in my brightly lit office. I got a lot of sunshine shining in my office during the day, and it still had an amazing ability to paint the picture. Maybe in its contrast, because it's not a sunny song. Sonically, the song is so well engineered, though. And again, the master, James Gadson, on the drums. And at the end, when he goes sparse, it's like a melancholy heartbeat. And he pulls it off with the mastery of somebody who's been doing it as long as he has. And it's Beck using the tools to their greatest effect. So there's so much melody in Pride, though, even in Kendrick Lamar's delivery of each verse and then between the verses themselves. It's an amazing song. I had a really difficult time picking a winner here. And still, I love James Gadson, but the winner I picked was Kendrick Lamar, 10-9. What did you do, Brian?
Unforgiven, like you said, it's a real dark song. It's plotting and gloomy. The keyboard and piano, it sets that mood. Lyrically, something has happened, and they're trying to get away, but that will never really happen. The judgment will always occur. The first verse starts, drive to the night, far as it goes, and the second verse ends till there's nothing left except the damage done. And then he ends the song repeating the 3 times, somewhere unforgiven, I will wait for you. And then he mixes in time will wait for you, and then he finishes again, I will wait for you. You know, he's been wronged, and the perpetrator can try to run away, but he'll always get caught and pay his price in time. It's almost as if this song is a callback to Heart as a Drum. As long as the heart keeps beating and keeping time, then I, or time, will be there waiting. As far as Pride, you know, it's another introspective song. Kendrick is trying to balance his thoughts and actions with the people's reactions and expectations. Kendrick knows he's far from perfect, just like everyone else is. He says, see, in a perfect world, I would be perfect world. I don't trust people enough beyond the surface world. You know, the song, it serves as Kendrick's confession that he knows he'll never be perfect, in part because he lacks trust. You know, lyrically, it's another fabulous song, but musically, the beat and samples, they fail to impress and inspire me, so I give this one to Beck 10-9.
Oh, man. So, Darius, we got Brian over here taking notes on the lyrics, man.
I see.
And he's coming through. So, what did you do with Unforgiven versus Pride?
Well, Pride, I would have to say, production-wise, and how it was put together sonically, one of my favorite hip-hop producers produced that track, which Knife Wonder, he used a lot of soulful samples and tracks, and I felt like it married well with the lyrics that Kendrick was relaying in Pride. So I rated that as a 10 because, and maybe I might be biased because that is my favorite producer on that track. But I loved it. I felt like it was soulful, and it, like I said, matched well with the lyrics that he was relaying in that particular track. Unforgiven, I thought it was arranged pretty well. It was to me, it didn't sound like a country or a rock song. It was, I don't know, it had different elements to me. Lyrically, it was kind of humdrum, draggy a little bit.
You have used the word draggy a couple times on this album. This album moved pretty slowly for you, it seems like.
It did. I mean, because sonically, you know, it sounded like an alternative album, you know, per se, and even with the lyrics, you know. And so some of the production was slow, whereas Kendrick Lamar album, it took you different directions, you know, sonically.
Fair enough.
So I rated Pride as a 10, and I rated Unforgiven as a 10 also.
Oh, so that was a draw round for you.
Yeah, that was a draw for me because both of them were, you know, sonically, they were both going different places, but I wanted to highlight Kendrick's aspect. You know, the producer who produced the song was real soulful, and I felt like it matched the dark lyrics.
Okay. So hold on, though, because when you described Unforgiven, you said it was draggy. You said that you liked the arrangement, but that it didn't get over the dragginess. But you still scored it a draw.
I did, because to me, both lyrically, I thought both of them, Beck as well as Kendrick, were trying to go to a place to deal with the human heart with pride and unforgiveness, you know. And I felt like unforgiveness was, you know, all of us struggle with that.
Sure.
And I felt like Beck was trying, sonically, I just thought it was just a little bit too slow for the actual message they were trying to relate.
So let's say as a boxer, he got rocked in the chin a couple times, but managed to keep his feet.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, keep it going. Round 7 was Wave versus Humble. How'd you do that?
Humble, I rated that as a 10. I love Humble. I like the lyrics. I thought it was pretty smooth. I think he took us through a journey lyrically. The beats were pretty cool. I guess, too, as a celebrity, I think he was trying to relate that, you know, with the rise of fame and celebrity, a lot of times it's hard to remain humble, you know, because you are in the public and you are going to be subject to praise as well as criticism. And so it's hard to wrestle in between those, you know, how to remain humble, but everybody's praising you. I thought that was great. And I like the production on that.
Okay.
Wave was cool too. I like Wave. So I rated Wave at a 9, and I rated Humble at a 10.
Okay. Brian, how'd you do?
You know, Humble's the award winner. It won the Grammy for Rap Song of the Year. And it's a bouncy banger. It's got an infectious beat punctuated with some gritty guitar, the 808s, and a pounding piano. Lyrically, he manages to remind us that he's the best, but it wasn't easy getting there. This album has been very introspective and as a whole, so the lyrics could easily be Kendrick talking to himself, reminding himself where he came from and who he really is. As far as Wave, it's a very visual song, and the tones from the cello and the other orchestral instruments really put the listener into the sea as the waves take them away. It's a pretty song, but it's overpowered in this round. It's 10-9 for Kendrick.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that Kendrick Lamar put up Pride and then followed it with Humble. And Humble is such a strong and definitive track, and it's sincere and beautiful. The haunting and meandering Wave, to me, never stood a chance. So, I mean, it is lush and sonically beautiful, but it's not close to me. But I did feel like if I had spent a good chunk of time with Morning Phase in the overcast part of the year, I would get a lot more out of Wave than I got with the sun shining in my office all week. So one of the things I thought about making a 10-8 round, I scored it 10-9 Humble. I still gave Wave a 9, but I think I did that based on the fact that I'm going to spend some time with this album this fall and really see what does, what Wave does for my emotions when the skies are gray. I think it's going to hit me a lot better and sink in a lot better. Brian, start us off on round 8. Don't Let It Go versus Lust.
Okay, so for Don't Let It Go, I love the guitar intros and Beck's strong vocals. He's turned himself up on this song, and he sounds forceful. These are some faults we found, hollowed out from the years. Don't let them wear you out. Don't let them turn your mind inside out. These lines are beautiful and poetic, and the way the strings build and add piano and cello really adds to the urging tone of Beck's voice. But I struggle with what he's trying to say. He seems to be saying that he needs to let go of the past, but also urging don't let it go while saying, don't you see how far it's gone away? The only thing I can think of is he's talking about two different things. They need to move away from past faults and failures and not let go of what they have together. As far as Lust, the haunting guitar production at the beginning sets the scene for routines and desires and the inability to break free from them. The beat that comes in adds a level of unease. The song is uneven and has a great flow, but the sounds clash just the way that makes me think that something isn't right. Time passing, things change, reverting back to our daily programs, stuck in our ways, Lust. No matter how angry or how well-intended your ideas for change are, you wind up giving into the routine and lust. In the end, I wound up giving this one 10-9 for Beck. I just thought he just did a little bit more on this one.
Okay. This is Beck flexing his muscles. He's pared way down. He is a live performer and always has been. He's been doing it for decades now. So, again, it's an overcast weather album, though. Those end up being my favorite records because they're so contemplative. Just for some example, Pet Sounds, Parade by Prince, Tapestry, Eroica. It's heady territory, and Lust was interesting in its poetry, but I have a hard time sonically with the use of the backwards 808 sound. That to me is, it was campy for a little while, and then it was a throwback for a little while. We all remember Hold It Now, Hit It, but I don't even feel the nostalgia for it anymore, so it just didn't move me. I scored it 10-9, Don't Let It Go. Darius, what'd you do?
So Don't Let It Go, I scored it as a 10. I thought it was very progressive, upbeat, pretty smooth, straight to the point. For Lust, I scored it. That was a tie for me also. That round was a tie for me.
I'm blown away by the narrow margins of these two albums.
Yeah, it's very close.
But I shouldn't be, because they are two really great pieces of work that are both unique. Because they're not only really strong, they're really independent of, it seems like, what anybody thinks. And both of these artists, Beck by now, he doesn't give a shit about anybody. He's like, I'm going to make my record. I'm going to make them however I want. And Kendrick Lamar doesn't have the number of albums behind him, but the depth of every single one of his albums and the progress that he's made in terms of his confidence as an artist. I mean, he started off a really confident artist, but I think what has happened, well, we'll talk about it a little more, but I'm really enjoying the fact that we're having to ring out a winner every one of these rounds. We're like, ooh, round 9. Wait, did you finish with round 8, Darius?
And I just wanted to add also, I want to concur with you in regards to your point in regards to Kendrick Lamar's progression. Each album you see him taking a different pace sonically and even lyrically, I guess, because, as an individual, you grow, you expose to new information, and so your subject matters change and your taste. So I have seen the progression. Each album from Pimp to the Butterfly to this particular album, damn, the content is totally different.
Yep. Totally different. Okay, round 9 is Blackbird Chain versus Love. The mark of greatness of these two albums is how strong we still are fighting about this thing, and it's round 9. Usually in a 12 or 13 round album fight, round 9 is when the fighter starts to get tired. We start to see the knees getting weak. We start to see, okay, track 9, honestly, track 9 is just okay on an album where just okay is not that great. But here we are in round 9, and this is still a fight. And this is, I feel like it's Ali Frazier. They're still going at it, and they're still giving us a show, and it's still 110%. Enormous strength on both sides. Love following Lust. After Humble followed Pride. That could be gimmicky, but it's not. It's completely sincere. It's an exploration of both sides, and not a cheap exploration of either one of those. And I think it's a stroke of genius. Blackbird Chain is Beck still flexing, exploring odd time to keep us on edge while we're being comforted by the melody. That's other level musicianship and amazing artistry, and that made me go with Beck 10-9. What did you do, Brian?
For Love, Zakari joins in with Kendrick, and he lends those soulful, swaying feels to Kendrick's flow. It's a love song, a commitment between two people and Kendrick's love for his lady. The beat starts kind of soft and crunchy, and then you get that heartbeat feels. Keep it 100. I'd rather you trust me than to love me. Keep it a whole 100. Don't got you, I got nothing.
Nice.
It's just tender and sweet. It's very easy to listen to. Blackbird Chain, I'm a huge Mother Hips fan, and this song, it's got that California soul feel to it. The jangly guitar and the almost spoken vocals at the intro growing more melodic as you get into the hook. It incorporates more strings and the orchestral elements, but Beck's verses still maintain that stripped down California soul song. We could come to understand what's wrong is right as rain. At rock bottom of a hollowed ground, we stake your claim. It's hollowed. It's not hallowed. I looked. It's almost like he's calling back to the last song. Don't let it go on those faults that are all hollowed out and exposed in the end.
These guys both have that ability to call back to the previous song.
Oh, throughout the whole. Both of them.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's real close on this one. I wound up giving it. I said love beats loss, so I give it 10-9 to Kendrick.
Oh man, Darius, what did you do?
Love, I rated it as a 10, and Blackbird Chain as a 9. Blackbird Chain, I rated it as a 9 because I thought it was kind of exploitive. He was reaching. Well, because he's an accomplished artist, so he can go any direction he wants. So that's why I rated it as a 9. In Love, I like Sakari. I think she, sonically, it's just pretty smooth. And I like where she took the song. So that's why I rated it 10.
Yeah, and she's fine.
She's fine.
Yeah. Brian evoked Mother Hips. Man, that's a pull right there.
Man, that's one of my favorites.
Okay. Keep us going, Darius. Round 10. Theis versus XXX. What did you do?
Now, production-wise, I wasn't too crazy about it, but I still rated it as a 10 because the mere fact that Kendrick Lamar was able to merge two worlds, like a huge iconic group as U2, and he was able to merge the hip-hop world as well as the pop rock world and make a masterpiece like that.
Yeah.
So I rated it as a 10. Theis was cool, it's monotone, to the point. I rated it as a 9.
Okay. I think you might have been generous on that one. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, Theis, I said it's a horrible place to put an instrumental interlude. The strings are gorgeous sounding, and the room is filling with light, but it just needs to be followed with something. And, as far as XXX goes, he didn't have to do Beck this way. He brings in U2, and then he has the balls to cut off Bono 3 different times. Did you hear
that, Pete? He cut off Bono 3 times.
The first song he's vengeful. He's just spitting bars, and then he gets more soulful in the second verse, and he keeps cutting off Bono, and it's almost like there's two kinds of Kendrick tracks wrapped around Bono's hook, but they're both equally disillusioned. I almost made this a knockdown around 10-8, but because it's not Bono live, it's actually a sample. I made it 10-9 for Kendrick.
See, you went and messed me up because I scored it 10-8. I thought of it as a knockdown round. I just thought, like you said, it's a terrible place. And look, man, when Beck made this record, this craziness that we're bringing to this matchup had absolutely nothing to do with what any of the people in the rooms during the recordings of these albums, never mind the people in the rooms while they were recording the album. After we're done doing this album fight, if either one of them ever hears this, they're going to go, what is this lunacy? So, yeah, it's a hell of a place for an instrumental interlude. It just ran up against a buzzsaw. And the way that Darius put it, the merging of two worlds, the iconic pop group of U2, used to great effect by Kendrick Lamar, it's not a contest to me. I enjoyed the way the first half of the song, Kendrick Lamar kind of called back to Eazy-E. Sounded like Eazy-E to me. And then once U2 showed up, the song kind of swings and just shifts gears in ways that really a true artist who doesn't give a shit about anybody.
Absolutely.
And I'd love to see him in this place. So I did score it 10-8. Round 11. Brian, kick us off with round 11, which was Turn Away versus Fear.
Okay. As far as Fear goes, I think this is the heart of the album. All the conflicts and anxieties that Kendrick has been facing are rolled into these 3 scenarios at age 7, 17, and 27. And they're bookended with this preachy voicemail from Cousin Carl Duckworth. It has callbacks to Yah and Cousin Carl and the line in Yah. I'm an Israelite, don't call me black no more. That word is only a color, it ain't facts no more. It also comes back to the what happens on earth stays on earth that they talk about in Element and a couple other songs. Mm-hmm. And verse 3 further expands on the self-doubt expressed in Feel. I love the beat to the song. It has just a mellow, kind of funky rolling feel. The one thing, though, the rightful album fight ending to this song should have been at the end of verse 3. He says, Fear, what happens on earth stays on earth, and I can't take these feelings with me, so hopefully they disperse, with 14 tracks carried out over wax. Wondering if I'm living through fear or living through rap. The next part, the interlude, damn, goddamn you, goddamn me, followed by Cousin Carl finishing up his thing. I think he would be better served for the album fight purposes of having that be another track, like Andre 3000 made Where Are My Panties another track on The Love Below. But, at home he's polishing his Pulitzer. I work for AT&T, so I think he's out ahead. For Turn Away, this is another great song. It's got sweeping strings.
By the way, AT&T, not a sponsor.
Definitely not a sponsor.
Please carry on.
Hashtag AT&T employee. I better put that in there. We got Beck. He plays a little Freddie Mercury and he harmonizes his own vocals 5 or 6 times. So he's singing with himself. The layering of his voice it sounds a lot like the Mount Erie album that came out last year. I had to remind myself that Beck was first. It's another song about moving on, not letting the past control you. Turn away from the weight of your own words. It's magic for the devil. In the final scoring for this round, I have to factor in that Kendrick gave us what I think should have been 2 songs, and Beck wrapped 1 song into a nice sweeping 3-minute package. So I score this one 10-9 for Beck.
Okay. I agree with you. I think that the conciseness is laudable, and I think that it's part of his veteran status as an artist, the fact that he's recorded so much. He is a prolific recorder of music, and a lot like Prince. Actually, the person who introduced me to Beck, I want to acknowledge, his name is Maurice Sterneman, and still a friend. We used to work together and became friends, struck up a great friendship over music, and he said, hey, as much as you love Prince, you should get to know Beck. And he's the guy who turned me on to Beck. A lot like Prince, Beck is pure practice. His mastery comes from repetition. He's the guy who just takes 20,000 swings before the season starts, so to speak, in that he records every day, he experiments, and he records scientifically, which means that the things that he experiments with, he uses to maximum effect, and he wrings out all that he can out of them, and then he reuses them when they will come back around. So he puts things in order. He's an organized taskmaster of a recording artist, and this is the result of a guy like that and that kind of discipline. The other side of that is Kendrick Lamar, who is pure angst, pure id, and just getting control of himself. And that's not taking away any of his artistry. It's just that he had a whole different thing to corral. And that's why he's frankly gotten it done in 4 albums and has come as far as he has as an artist. I did enjoy the Israelite reference in Fear, and I think it's one of the universal themes that I'm glad to see him championing. Because as an African-American male in Compton, he just really, I can't even say he widened his horizons. He just blew his horizons out. Absolutely. He said, I come from there, and I'm going to take that experience, and I'm going to take over the world, and I'm going to experience everything the world has to offer, and I'm going to share my emotion with everybody. And that is probably the most important thing going on in hip-hop right now, in my estimation. So Brian thinks that he's the greatest lyricist walking around. I think that in terms of his ability to exercise his experience upon everything else in humanity and make it make sense, his lyricism is great. But his ability to capture that and bring it out to us is something that's going to make him continue to be great, and I hope he's with us until he's 100. So, now how did I score round 11? Well, I gave it to Beck 10-9, but I can't say enough about Kendrick Lamar and how I feel about his importance to music and to art. What did you do after that long-winded tirade, Darius?
Well, I rated Kendrick Lamar Fear at a 10 and Beck's Turn Away at a 9. Fear, I felt like, now this may be totally different. I feel like Fear it should have been maybe like in the middle of the album, in between Pride and Humble, because of the content and the lyrical, what he was trying to garner lyrically in this particular song.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, I feel like it should have not been down at number 10. I feel like it should have been in the middle of the album to coincide with Pride and Humble. That's my only gripe about it, but I still rated it as a 10. He sounded like a preacher too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you know what though? I think it's a great point because, you went from Pride to Humble and Lust to Love, but you still have room in there for Pride and then Fear and then Humble. And you're right, the lyrical content would have shoot it right in there, and I can see why he maybe didn't. Who knows? I mean, why he did it, we'll just have to ask him. But I definitely see your point there. That's a very interesting point.
Thank you. And Turn Away, I like Turn Away. I can be honest with you guys. I want to stick with this Beck album a little bit more so I can critique it. And I'm listening to you two guys, I've learned a lot more about him and his artistry and his creativity. And so I want to give him a better critique. And so when I was listening to Turn Away, I was kind of like all over the place, but I still rated it as a 9.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Round 12 is Country Down versus God. And in terms of these two tracks, we're coming up on rounding third base in this album fight. And these guys are just so strong, and their ability to take this package and begin to wrap it up in a way that provides not only a big finish, but also just gives us a sense of closure's not the right word. I want to use a better word than closure, but to me, Country Down it's again Beck and his ability to be an organized recording artist, and he's just so strong. I mean, he's just a guy who has a mastery of so many tools, and he's got an enormous toolbox. By contrast, Kendrick Lamar has, man, I don't like the way this sounds in my head, but comparatively has a smaller toolbox. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because Alfred Hitchcock said the worst enemy of cinema is lack of limitation. And so, specifically when it comes to Kendrick Lamar, or when it comes to, I mean, a lot of the great hip-hop producers throughout history, Prince Paul, even, if we go way back to Prince Paul, he was not an instrumentalist, but he was surrounded by the hip-hop band. So he had to figure out how to get his ideas down in front of people who could play things. And I think that forces artistry in a way that is really unique. I still scored it 10-9 country down, but I really liked God. And man, like I said, I can't say enough things about Kendrick Lamar. How did you score it, Darius?
I scored God 10. I scored country down 9, because I think it's, adding both of those songs were adding the finishing touches for the album, and the messages that they were trying to relate. Country Down and God, I guess it's creating a central theme of, finding oneself, finding solitude. God can be you. It can be, finding self-worth. And I rated God as 10, and I rated Country Down.
Brian?
Let's see, Country Down. The song, it's got some serious twang going on. It's got the steel guitar and the harmonica.
Yeah.
It's a country song about being out in the country and getting away from it all. It's one of those songs I like to close my eyes to. The lyrics.
So twang in a good way.
Twang in a good way,
okay.
Yes. Yeah. I can handle twang.
Yeah.
I'm all over the place. Don't worry about me. The lyrics, what's the use of being found? You can lose yourself in sunken ground, in the weeds hiding down river right next door. There's no frame around your picture, just a view through my back door. You can hide yourself downriver, which happens to be just right next door, but next door is so far away that when you look out the back window, you don't see anything. It's just, the way he paints that picture is just fabulous. As far as God goes, this is Kendrick allowing himself to celebrate. He's worked hard to get here, and he knows he's made it to the top. He's going to brag about it. He says, ever since I was a young man, all I want to be was an own man, shooting up the charts, better run man. Y'all got to see that I won, man. It's got a nice bouncy beat, and it goes nicely with Kendrick's bravado. But in the end, I gave this round to the twang, 10-9 for Beck.
All right. Round 13, Waking Light versus Duckworth. Darius, you are the guest host. Kick us off to wind it up in our final round.
So this is the finale. I rated Duckworth a 10 because I love the production on it. I think it was the cherry on top to sum up the whole album of Kendrick Lamar's Damn. Walking Light, I rated it as a 9. I thought it was pretty smooth and melodic and laid back.
Melodic and laid back for a finish. How do you feel about that, Brian?
I'm going to get to that. Let me start with Duckworth.
Okay.
Here, Kendrick, he takes a step back from the last song where he proclaimed himself a rap god. And he starts reflecting on this crazy series of events that allowed him to get where he is today. It's a spoken word rap over a strolling beat. And the story of Duckworth is just amazing to me, how Kendrick's dad used to work at the KFC that this guy Anthony used to rob. And he gave the dude extra chicken and biscuits to stay alive. And 20 years later, Kendrick steps into the studio, and Anthony's the CEO of Top Dog Entertainment, and Kendrick's signing his first rap contract with the guy. If his dad had gotten killed, none of this ever would have happened. The intro, with the familiar, just remember what happens on Earth stays on Earth, followed by, we're going to put it in reverse. The trend of the song, you can hear the album at the end of the song, you hear the album in rewind. I was taking a walk the other day is how it ends, and that's exactly how the album began. It's a great album. It's my favorite album that came out last year, and this song, I think it just takes a nice big bow and wraps up the present on top. As far as Waking Light, I I also think Beck ends this album great. I think he ends it with a bang, literally. You know, this song is dominated by just a loud piano and drums, and it's even got some glockenspiel in there for Pete. You know, and then you know, for one of the rare parts on this album, an electric guitar kicks in, and you know, you really feel that presence on the way out. There's plenty of songs in this album about waking up and daybreak, but this is the first one that really feels like it's taken us out of the darkness and into the light. You know, wake and light, it grew from the shadow. Brace yourself to the morning low. Night is gone, long way turning. You've wanted long enough to know. You've waited long enough to know. Sorry, and then you know, it ends. When the morning comes to meet you, open your eyes to the waking light. You know, moving forward is a good thing, and there's lightness ahead. In the end, I had no idea how to score this round. They both ended with something superb, and they both wrapped up the albums great. And since it didn't affect my scorecard, I took the weenie way out, and I wound up scoring it 10-10.
I don't know if that's the weenie way out, but
Pete'll tell me it was.
Wanted a definitive win here. I really enjoyed that Waking Light came and gave us a ray of sunshine and some optimism to end on, because I think that speaks more to Beck and how Beck operates. So I liked it, but Duckworth is just such a strong story. It's such a redemption. It's so good that it's undeniable, and I think that propelled it forward. Looking at the scorecard, we have a unanimous, although very, very razor-thin decision for Kendrick Lamar. So, Darius, I'm going to say to you, take this Beck album into November. I think it's going to sound a little different in November, and I think you're going to get the most out of it then, at a time where I think we're all a little more reflective when the sky is gray. And so I think that you're going to enjoy that.
That's actually true. You know, when Beck first came out, I work with a guy, and he freaking loves Beck, and he's all over Beck, and the new Beck album's coming. And when it came out, I listened to it, and I'm like, yeah, it's okay.
What album was it?
This one, when Morning Phase.
Okay.
This particular album. And then, you know, at the end of the year, my friends and I get together, and we list our favorite albums of the year, and one of my buddies listed Morning Phase, and I'm like, you know, I'll give that one another chance. And it was the week after Christmas, and I was making pancakes in the morning, and I threw it on. Crap, this album is good.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think a lot of it has to do with the environment in which you listen to it. You know, listening at my desk that one day probably didn't do it justice. So.
Okay. Well, this is a brilliant album fight, guys. Darius, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Brian, thanks for coming over to my house.
Absolutely.
And Darius, when you make it out here to the West Coast, man, I got a spot for you.
Soon.
Come on out.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Kendrick Lamar, the winner this time. See you guys later.